Hello and good evening. My name is Catherine Kaplan, and I work with SEB Housing. And this is the information session for the 5 affordable condominiums being made available during the second phase of development at Copperworks in Canton, Massachusetts. So the purpose of this session is to give a little bit of background and information on the condos themselves. And we'll also discuss the application, the eligibility process, the lottery process, and what to expect after the lottery. So if you're joining us via YouTube right now, you see a chat box next to my video. And if you have questions during this session, since there isn't a live option to unmute yourself, you can type into that chat box. So I'm going to type something in there now so you can see the field that I am referring to. You should see it pop up there. We also have a conference call that is running concurrently to this session. And if you prefer to join by phone, you can do so by dialing the number that I'm going to type in there. And so like I said, this session is live on YouTube, but if you need to revisit it later, it is going to be posted on there on our channel, so you can just search SEB Housing in the future or Copperworks and you'll see it there. So if after the session you have any questions that you weren't able to answer during, that you weren't able to ask during the presentation, you can email us at info@sebhousing.com. That's also in the chat now. That's the quickest way to get in touch with us, by email, but if you prefer to call, that's perfectly fine as well. And I'm going to put in the phone number for us as well. So just a little bit of background on who we are, who SEB Housing is. We are a offsite affordable housing consultant group. And so we were hired by the developer to market these affordable homes, conduct the information session, collect and review the applications, and hold the lottery. So we'll be reviewing applications that are sent in to us and determining whether or not you and your household are eligible for this affordable housing opportunity. We're not on site at the development, and we're not a part of the sales team. We haven't seen the condos themselves in person. And we will be your initial or your main contact in the initial phases of this, rather than the developer or the management company. But further along in the process, you will have more contact directly with the owner. And if you're invited to move forward to purchasing a condo, you will be in touch with them. So there's two really broad steps in this process. The first being applying for the affordable housing program. And that is the time that you'll be in touch with SEB Housing, because we're going to be answering any questions you might have on the affordable housing program and the opportunity in general. If we have any questions for you about your application or your supporting documentation, we'll be reaching out to you directly, either by email, by phone. And if eligible, like I said, you'll be entered into the lottery and you'll be given a position on the wait list. Step 2 involves more of actually reserving the home and buying the home. So your opportunity to be able to do so will depend on your wait list placement following the lottery. The information package. So if you haven't already, you're going to want to visit our website because you can get a downloadable version of the application there. I'm going to put in our website here. It's just sebhousing.com. And you'll see the information packet is posted there. Most of the information that I am going to be presenting tonight is found in the information packet. You're also going to see a downloadable version of the Copperworks application there. And if you go to our website and click on I want to buy, and then click on Copperworks, that's where you're going to be taken to this specific site, or the specific page, I should say, with a downloadable version of the application and the information packet. Page 11 of the information packet is also going to list more information about the timeline for each of the processes that we just talked about. So applying for the program and then actually moving towards purchasing a condo. So it'll give you more information in that information packet. And even if you're attending this session, I would strongly suggest looking through the information packet because, like I said, there's going to be some things that we weren't able to get through tonight. So if you choose to apply to purchase one of the affordable condos at Copperworks, you're going to need to complete the lottery application. And you can submit that application and supporting documentation to us in one of several ways. So the first is by email or scanning it to us at the info@scbhousing.com. You can also fax it to us. The first page of the application has our fax number listed. You can send it by regular mail to our address. You can also drop it in our 24-hour secure drop box located at our office in Needham, and that's at 257 Hillside Ave. And it's located to the left of the building, and it's checked every day. So whichever one of those options is most convenient for you, feel free to do that if you are interested. And we do encourage you to get your application in early. It's fairly lengthy. There's a lot of supporting information that you are going to need to supply with the application. So have a look at that as soon as possible so you can start gathering all that documentation. Along with the lottery application and the supporting documentation, which we're going to talk a lot about this evening, you're going to need a mortgage pre-approval as well, which we're going to cover more in depth as well. But getting the approval can take some time. So if you're interested in this opportunity after reading the information packet and listening in tonight, I would recommend that you start the process of getting that pre-approval. So, since the deadline is coming up, the application deadline is a month from tomorrow. It's June 3rd at 2 p.m. All applications need to be delivered or postmarked by that day in order to be considered. You do not need to be a resident of Canton to apply for one of these condos at Copperworks, but you are going to, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later as well, but for several of the condominiums, there will be preference for residents of Canton, and we'll discuss that more, like I said. That's not to dissuade you at all if you don't live in Canton from applying, because we'll talk more about it. But you can also check out the website for Canton Copperworks. So I'm going to put that in the chat as well, so you have it. They have a great website up. The owner has put that up, and there's more information, including a photo gallery and published floor plans, more information about the amenities that they have at the community there. So the opportunity that we're talking about tonight is for 5 affordable homes being built in phase 2 of Copperworks. So the address is 60 Coppersmith Way in Canton. If you're looking for that on your phone or in a GPS, you might not find it. I had a little bit of trouble finding it, and that's because I think it's a new street. So if you type in 96 Revere Street in Canton, that's the location of Copperworks. So there's 2 1-bedroom units being offered during this phase, which are going to consist of about 863 square feet. There's also 3 2-bedroom units, which are going to range in size from 1,313 to 1,321 square feet. All residents are going to have access to the community amenities, which include a community clubhouse and pool, a fitness center, an outdoor patio area, complimentary bike storage, secure entry into the building and your unit by mobile phone, and residents can easily access Canton's town center, as well as 2 commuter rail stops. Canton Junction and Canton Center are close by, and there's ample free surface parking on site for residents. So the homeowners are going to be responsible for taxes, insurance, and all home utilities and indoor maintenance. And there are condo fees for these units as well. So for the 1-bedroom unit, there's a condo fee of $163 per month. For the 2-bedroom units, the condo fee is $183 per month. And those fees include common administrative expenses such as insurance, the pool and clubhouse expenses, which include cable, common HVAC, water and sewer, general repair of the common areas, elevator and fire sprinklers, maintenance, gas charges for the common areas, landscaping, painting, as well as trash and snow removal. The price of the affordable one-bedroom condos is $282,000, and the two-bedroom condos are going to be offered at $317,200. So as you can see, they're priced significantly below what market value would be both in the building and in the Canton area. And so since they're going to be sold at an affordable price, they're only being made available to households with incomes at or below 80% of area median income. And that's referred to as AMI. So AMIs are amounts that the Department of Housing and Urban Development, so HUD, releases each spring. Canton falls in the Metro Boston area. So since these are affordable homes, you're going to want to keep in mind that they also have what's called what's referred to as a deed rider that's going to be filed along with the deed at the time of the purchase. And this really just ensures that the condo remains affordable in the future, even if it's resold. So the quick view of what a deed rider is. So it limits the amount for which you can eventually resell the property. So this opportunity might not be for you if you're looking to buy something and flip it and make a large profit very soon, in a year or two. It doesn't mean you won't be able to sell the property eventually for more than what you pay for it, but it would need to be resold to another affordable buyer. So you might have some return on investment, but you shouldn't expect the same appreciation that other homes, non-affordable homes without deed riders, would be seeing in the next few years. And it must be your primary residence. You generally can't rent it out as an investment like an Airbnb or something like that. And if you wanted to refinance or make improvements, such as it doesn't really apply here because it's a condo, but investments like a new roof or something like that would need to be approved by DHCD. These are brand new units. Likely that would not be applicable for many years. So I mentioned that a mortgage pre-approval is required to be submitted along with your lottery application. So we suggest, after reviewing the information packet, that you maybe even just rip out page 8, which lists the required mortgage pre-approval standards for this housing opportunity, and bring it to your mortgage lender. And that would be the bank, and just really show it to them, because that's going to show you what you need from them in terms of a mortgage product. You want to be sure that the mortgage product that the bank offers you is going to be necessary to meet the standards of the pre-approval. So sometimes what's listed in the sample deed rider, which is also listed on our website, if you go to the Copperworks listing, there's going to be a sample deed rider there. And that some of the information in that deed rider can be problematic for certain lenders, because certain loans will not accept all the terms that are in there. For example, the loan needs to have a fixed rate throughout the term of the mortgage. It also can't be an FHA or a VA loan, since those types of loans don't accept the deed restrictions. And you don't want to be in a situation where the lender grants you pre-approval and then is backing out at the time of the purchase once they're made aware that this is an affordable housing opportunity and the resale restrictions are there. Along those same lines, we wanted to mention that in our experience, it's been very difficult for affordable applicants to successfully close with Bank of America as their lender. So we recommend that you don't use Bank of America for your pre-approval or mortgage, because their mortgage products are just likely not suited for these affordable units. With that said, though, you may select any bank or lender that you choose. We just strongly recommend that you select someone who has experience with affordable housing programs. There is a link on page 8 of the information packet, which will direct you to the Mass Housing Partnership website. And the site is really a great resource for you to find lenders that are very familiar with affordable housing. So take a look at that as a starting point. In the pre-approval, on page 8, you're going to see that the mortgage pre-approval standards require that you put a down payment of 3% on the purchase price. Half of that 3% must be from your own funds. So if you are taking out a mortgage, which you will be, it can only be for 97% of the purchase price. The 3% would be coming from you. Half of which must come from your own funds, I should say. You could be gifted the other 1.5%. Okay, to talk more about the eligibility requirements and criteria, the SEB housing that we are going to be looking at to confirm whether or not you are eligible for this opportunity. There's 4 eligibility requirements that are listed on page 4 of the information packet. The first is that everyone in the household must qualify as a first-time home buyer. There are exceptions to this, and we're going to discuss those in just a few minutes. Even for households who qualify for an exception, you would need to be off the deed of any prior properties that you may have owned to be able to close on an affordable home at Copperworks. The second eligibility criteria is that a household's income and assets must be below the maximum allowable income and asset limit. We're going to talk a lot more about that. The third is that households must be pre-approved for a mortgage. And the fourth is that the buyer may not have financial interest in the development or be a related party. So these condos are being offered by Canton Copperworks LLC. So if you happen to work for Copperworks or related to them in some close way, you may not be eligible for this lottery. Doesn't come up often, but want to make sure we mention it since it would be an issue. So to circle back to the first eligibility criteria and to explain more, everyone in the household must be a first-time home buyer. What does that mean? So all households are considered first-time home buyers if they have not, within the last 3 years, owned a home. This includes through joint ownership. So if a household member was on a deed to a home along with a partner or some other person, they would still be considered owners of that home, even if they were only partial owners. There are 5 exceptions to the first-time home buyer rule. These are listed in the information packet, so I'm only going to touch on the most common 3 that we see. And the first is someone that is referred to as a displaced homemaker. So that's someone who hasn't worked outside of the home for several years, who has previously owned a home with a partner, but no longer owns the home due to a divorce or legal separation. The second is a single parent with at least joint custody of 1 or more children, or someone who's pregnant and now displaced and is looking for a new home to buy following that breakup. So you're going to want to take a look at those exceptions if you think that the first-time home buyer criteria may be an issue for your family. The third exception is the age-qualified household, and this applies to households with members who have a 55 or older person in the household, and that person is selling a home or has recently sold a home in order to purchase this affordable condo. If you qualify for any of these exceptions, you do, like I said, still need to sell the home prior to buying or closing on an affordable condo at Copperworks. This might mean, depending on your circumstances, that a divorce needs to be finalized through the courts so that your name is no longer on that deed. So keep all that in mind. The second eligibility criteria for the affordable housing program are the income limits. Since these are affordable homes, they're going to be made available for purchase, for a lower purchase price than other market rate homes within the development. So, like I said, they're only being made available to households whose total annual income is at or below 80% of the area median income for the Boston area. The maximum income limits are set by household size, and it includes everyone in the household. So everyone who has income coming in from your household, we're going to be looking to verify the income and count it towards the eligibility, the max amounts. These amounts that I'm about to read off are listed on page 6 of the information packet, so there's no reason to jot them down or anything like that, but just want you to hear what the limits are so you know whether or not you are close to that or possibly are over it. So if you're a 1-person household applying for a condo at Copperworks, the maximum income limit is $78,300. If you're a two-person household, the maximum income limit is $89,500. If you're a three-person household, the maximum income limit is $100,700. And if you're a four-person household, the maximum income limit is $111,850. The limits are updated annually in April of each year, so they were just updated. Those won't be changing as we're reviewing your application. And so all household members are going to be required to submit supporting income and asset documentation. And the required documents really vary depending on what your household source of income is, or sources of income are. So it will include your 5 most recent pay stubs, for example, if you are employed, copies of bank statements from the last 3 months, and copies of your federal tax returns for the last 3 years. The application goes into much greater detail of how many statements we're going to need and that sort of thing. So you're going to want to use or take a look at the application, obviously, when you're going through it, to make sure that you've attached all of the supporting documentation that's necessary for your circumstances. Just to give a basic overview of how your income is going to be calculated, income for the program is counted as a projection of your income for the next 12 months for all household members. So this is all income for household members. It could be benefits, it could be self-employment, it could be wages, etc. The only exception to this is income. So for minors, anybody under the age of 18 who is working, we're not going to include their wage income. And for dependent full-time students who are working, we're only going to count the first $480 of any wage that they have coming in. We do need to count the gross income, so not your net income after taxes, but your gross income when we're looking at your eligibility. And we recognize obviously that you don't take home that amount, and a lot of it may be going to taxes and health insurance and things like that, but it does need to be counted as gross income according to the program. And how we calculate your income is not one size fits all either. Everyone's income circumstances are unique. Some applicants are going to have a very straightforward weekly salary. They get a pay stub, and it's consistent throughout the year, while others are self-employed or working seasonally, per diem, that sort of thing. So in those types of circumstances, we may need to look further back in the past in order to project what your income might be for the coming 12 months. And specifically for applicants who are self-employed, you're going to need to complete a profit and loss statement and provide supporting documentation. In the application, at the end of the application, you're going to see that there's a sample profit and loss statement and a template for you to use if that's helpful for you. Your business expenses are going to be taken into account. So for households who are not self-employed, it's always the gross income that we count, but for those that are self-employed, we will be taking business expenses into consideration. In general, any income you've been making, we're going to have to assume that you will continue to make going forward, even if the income includes, overtime, bonuses, which we understand are not guaranteed income for most people. And this is unless we have definitive documentation stating that there's going to be no possibility of overtime or bonuses in the next 12 months, for example. That might include a written letter from your employer that's really saying that no bonuses or overtime are going to be allowed in the coming year. We're not permitted to accept statements from applicants. So for example, if all of the documentation that you have submitted shows that your household income is about $80,000 for the last year, but we're being told that your plan is to work far less in the coming year, and you'll be only be making $50,000 in the next 12 months, we're still going to need to count the $80,000 as your income, as your projected income, unless a written statement is submitted to us from the employer or some other type of official documentation proving otherwise. So just keep that in mind. Sources of income from the application. So if you look at the application, there's a table, and it's trying to be as exhaustive as possible to make sure that you don't miss represent or forget to put any income that's coming into your household down there. So you want to report everything. We have listed, wages. That could be self-employment or wages from an employer. It could be benefits such as Social Security, SSDI, child support, alimony, retirement distributions, unemployment benefits, workman's compensation, pensions. It could even be periodic payments from friends or family. And a verification for that, as you can see on the application, would be some sort of statement from that family member confirming the amount and frequency of the payments. Any assets that generate income would be counted towards your total income as well. So not always straightforward wages, but really any income you have coming into the household, you just want to make sure to report on that application. So to apply for the lottery, there's no minimum household income requirements, but in order to qualify for a mortgage, you're going to need to meet the lender and the bank's requirements in order to receive the mortgage pre-approval that's required to be submitted along with the application. So just keep that in mind. Assets. So households may have a total, may not have a total of more than $75,000 worth of assets at the time of your application. This includes any funds that you might be using towards a future down payment for one of the condos. And to give you some other examples of assets that we'd be looking into, it could be cash in your savings or checking accounts, CDs, the net value of stocks or retirement accounts, such as a 401k, 403b, bonds, the balance of a Venmo or a PayPal account. Not always straightforward there either. People don't really think of their Venmo or PayPal account as an asset, but it is money that's in an account for you. In terms of retirement accounts, you might think it's a little strange that we're going to be counting money that you have tied up in a retirement account. Some of you may not be expecting to access that money for many years or even decades. The program does require us to do so, since you could, in theory, access the account to withdraw funds, although you would have a penalty. It is going to be the post-penalty amount or the net cash value that we count towards that $75,000 cap. So if you do have a retirement account, you're going to be asked to get a letter from that financial institution listing the post-penalty amount. So all this is listed on the application, but just to give you an idea of the types of things that we're going to be needing from you. If you happen to have a family member or a friend who is looking to or is planning to gift you part of your down payment, that amount is also going to be considered an asset, so you need to disclose it. And like I said before, if any income is generated by your assets, we're going to be counting that towards income as well. Assets that you do not need to document are personal assets such as jewelry, art, cars, anything like that. We do not need to verify. So lottery eligibility. So as I mentioned earlier, we want to encourage you to apply as soon as possible to get the process started. We're going to review your application, your lottery application, and contact you if any information is missing or appears incorrect. So you are going to have a second chance to, complete your application, resubmit anything that might have been missing. And most applicants do not submit 100% of the required information or documentation on the first try. There's a lot of information that needs to come in. That's the main reason. And also, what tends to happen is, you might send in bank statements, and then that sort of sparks another question from our team. So don't be discouraged if you send something in and then you receive an incomplete notice from us. It's, something that we do every day, and that has no bearing on whether or not you'll be entered into the lottery. You just want to make sure that you have a complete application after we send you that incomplete notice. And so if you're found eligible for the lottery, you're going to be sent a lottery application number, and that's either going to be sent to you by email if you do have an email address, or by regular mail if you don't have one. And that lottery application number is going to be in the form of a dot and then several numbers. And this is a number that's going to be drawn in the lottery. It's meant to be an anonymous identifier so that we're not calling your name during a lottery It's not a ranking of any sort if it corresponds to the order that we received your application. So if you were the very first applicant to submit the Copperworks lottery application, you're going to be A.001. The letter is also going to confirm whether or not your household qualifies for local preference. So it's going to be in that email or letter that you receive. It's going to say you qualify or you don't qualify for local preference. So you will have indicated on your application whether or not you believe your household qualifies for local preference, and you will have submitted the necessary verification along with your application. Local preference might apply to you, apply to your household if you live in Canton, you work for the town of Canton, or you work at a business located in the town, or if you're the guardian of a child attending Canton Public Schools. For this opportunity, up to 70% of the affordable units at Copperworks will have a local preference. So that means that some local preference households will get priority for those units compared to households who do not have local preference. But you also want to keep in mind that for the two-bedroom units, household type is more heavily weighted factor than local preference in determining your waitlist placement. So what that means is if you're a type 2 household and you apply for a type 2 unit, you're still going to have priority over type 1 local preference households for a 2-bedroom condo. So in short, you do not want to be deterred from applying for these condos if you do not live in Canton. It's not something that is required. More information, though, if you're interested on local preference, can be found on page 19 of the info pack. A lot more information there if you want to see more about it. So on your application, you're also going to have indicated your household type, so type 1 or type 2. Both type 1 and type 2 households can apply for a 2-bedroom condo, but type 2 households are going to have priority. So this means that all type 2 households will be ahead of type 1 households when we're establishing the wait list following the lottery. There's additional details about household composition and types on page 9 of the info pack. But just for reference, since type 2 households are going to have the priority in this lottery, you should know that all households with 3 or 4 people are considered type 2 households, and certain 2-person households could also be considered type 2 households as well. So the lottery application deadline, June 3rd at 2 p.m. The lottery itself is going to be held virtually on June 16th at 6 p.m. And we will create the wait list shortly after the lottery. The top households will be invited by SEB to move forward, to reserve the unit, mortgage, and to purchase the condo. It's going to be the same. The lottery itself will be the same format as the info session that we're doing tonight. A YouTube live stream, and the numbers will be drawn from a box held up to the screen to make sure that everyone can see it and recorded. Every lottery number will be drawn or picked during that lottery. And when we think of lotteries, we think of there being one winner, but this lottery is really just held in order to establish the wait list for these condos. And so if you're watching the lottery and a type 1 household is drawn first in the lottery, they're still going to be placed on the wait list behind all type 2 households. Also, households who were entered into the lottery may be found ineligible during the process or may ultimately decide not to purchase the unit. So if your number is drawn later in the lottery, maybe 9th or 10th or something like that, you shouldn't be losing hope or anything like that. You may still have an opportunity to move forward in the process and purchase one of the condos. Following the lottery, we do our best to send the wait list to all applicants as soon as possible. It's usually sent to applicants by email no later than the next morning after the lottery. Like I said, if you don't have an email, we'll be sending it by regular mail. And when you're reviewing that email, you're going to want to find your lottery application number that was sent to you previously, so you can see where you fall on the wait list. That'll give you a better idea of whether or not you might be invited to move forward to the next step in the process. And so if you're among the top households on the wait list following the lottery, our next step is going to be to send your file to the state, the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD. They're going to do a file review to give us the green light that you're eligible to move forward on their end. And just a reminder, not everyone from the lottery is going to be called to move forward. This is only going to be the top households on the wait list. And it certainly doesn't always happen, but since there are 5 condos available in this opportunity, if the top 5 households on the wait list all submit the required documentation, they're found eligible, and they make it all the way to purchasing the home, other households that are further down the list may have been given approval by SEB and initial approval by DHCD, but they may not move forward or be given the opportunity to purchase a condo. But again, this is not normally the case because households, could be found ineligible during the process, or they could choose just simply they're not interested in purchasing the home anymore. So if you're further down the list, do not assume that you won't be able to purchase one of these condos. So once DHCD has approved the application, your application, the process is going to be much more similar to if you were purchasing a market rate home. And I do want to mention too that as you go through the home buying process, you may hire an attorney at any time. This is a huge undertaking, and you want to make sure that you understand the whole process and you're well represented. So you perfectly, it's perfectly fine if you want to hire someone to assist you in navigating through it. So once DHCD has approved your application, we're going to put you in touch with the owner or developer of the unit to schedule a time to tour the home and complete a reservation agreement. In order to reserve one of the condos, there's going to be a $500 refundable deposit that will be required at that time. After reserving the home, you'll have about 10 business days to sign the purchase and sale agreement and place the required deposit, which is the 1.5% of the sales price minus the $500 reserve fee that you had already paid. And your P&S agreement will list your actual closing date. So that's going to be the final step in the home buying process. So you're almost at the finish line at that point. And once the purchase and sale is signed, you'll need to go back to the bank or the lender who issued your mortgage pre-approval. It doesn't need to be the same lender, I should say, but if you choose to stay with the same lender, it would be going back to the same bank. The process varies a little depending on the lender, but generally they're going to need to review all the documents that you've signed up to this point. So that would be the purchase and sale agreement, the deed rider, etc. And they're going to do an appraisal of the home. SEB's final review. So there's going to be a final review of your file because you must remain eligible for the affordable housing program up until the day of closing. So about 3 to 4 weeks prior to your closing date, we're going to conduct a final review of your income and assets, for example. We're going to ask for updated pay stubs, bank statements, whatever we need to verify your income and assets again. And we're also going to need your mortgage commitment letter at that point. So after that, SEB is going to forward the final package, your file, to DHCD again for their final review. And if you're still eligible for the affordable housing program, you're going to move towards closing on the property. And once you've closed on the home, you're going to go ahead and move in. Hopefully you're going to be happy there for many years. You're not going to be bothered with any future income or asset eligibility reviews or anything like that. That about covers it, I believe, on my end. So again, you can find the lottery application for Canton Copperworks and for these 1 and 2 bedroom condos on our website. The info pack is there. The deed rider is there. I'm going to stick around here. I don't see any questions in the chat here, but I'll stick around for a few minutes in case you do have any questions. There's a lot of information. All right, I don't see anything coming in. So Have a great night and good luck in the lottery if you, oh, hold on one second. Yep, so Legend is asking, you mentioned earlier we cannot get pre-loan at Bank of America. Yes, so the reason that we said that was because in our experience, we have not seen anyone be able to successfully close on an affordable housing property after being pre-approved by Bank of America. So I've seen applicants get pre-approved, but most of or potentially all of Bank of America's mortgage products don't end up working out for the affordable housing stipulations that are in the deed rider there. So we would not recommend going to a Bank of America to get pre-approved or for a mortgage. Plenty of other places where you could check out. There's also the Mass Housing Partnership link that is on the info pack that would be a good starting point for you to take a look at. And that is on page 8 of the info pack and get you started there. Or any local bank that you have in your area. Any other questions? info@scbhousing.com or the 617-782 number that I have in the chat here too would be the best way to get in touch with us going forward after you submit your application. Kristen is asking if your parents live at Copperworks, does that consider you a party relation? So no, it's if you're related to the owner or something like that. If you already know someone that lives or are related to someone that lives at Copperworks, that's perfectly fine. A related party is more, if you work for their leasing office or, the developer or something like that. So yeah, you'd be fine if you know someone that lives there. Anything else? No problem. All right, if nobody has any other questions, we encourage you to get those applications in with the supporting documents and the mortgage pre-approval. And like I said, any other questions, you can go ahead and email us at info@scbhousing.com or give us a call at the number that's in the chat. And good luck in the lottery. Have a great night. Bye now.